go a little wider. Brings ball back for Marshall. The footwork. Benji Marshall. Now the speed. The footwork again. Away from Peachy. Passes without looking. Away for Richards. Back to Fitzhenry. That is as good as you will see.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the SuperCoach Tragics podcast. I'm your host, Dan, aka the Harry Grant Killer. So tonight we have something truly special for you guys. Tonight is the first night that I'm not outnumbered by Tigers and Broncos fans. We have a special guest tonight, and that is Tim Moodie. Turns out you're not a bad supercoacher either, rather than just a Panthers fan. You're a pretty good supercoacher, mate, I hear.
Yeah, I've been going all right at that Supercoach. Yeah, it's probably handy that some of my Panthers are going good too. So I don't know. Look, I think that might be just a coincidence. I've probably got the same amount of Panthers as everyone else has in their side.
No, it's just good not to be outnumbered. Normally we've got about 3 Broncos fans and 2 Tigers fans, and it's starting to get annoying. So that's why I brought out the pinky today as well, just to the old pink shirt
nice.
today. So
I was wearing my jersey not too long ago, but I started sweating it up, so I decided I'd take it off.
Awesome, mate. Before we'll ask you a few questions. So I know you're doing quite well this year. I don't want to jinx it, mate, but I'm thinking back-to-back's looking pretty good for you, mate.
Yeah, it's sort of coming along nice. It didn't start as well as I would have liked to, so it's been a bit more of a challenge. But where I'm sort of looking at things at the moment, I still believe that it could be done. But yeah, look, there's a lot of good people that are really, really up there this year. I've sort of got my eye across it and sort of been lurking around and seeing who's doing what and where they're at. And yeah, I'm pretty nervous to see that there's a lot of good super coaches in the mix. So it's going to be a tough year to try win, I reckon.
Well, one of those super coaches in the mix at the moment is actually one of the co-hosts on the SuperCoach Experience there, and Sav. He's doing pretty well for himself as well.
Yeah, he's killing it. He's, I think, at 150th or even better at the moment. So, yeah, that's just awesome. I'm really glad to see that. Good for the show.
Yeah. Well, one thing pretty much everyone knows about me is I travel a lot for work, so I listen to like every single podcast, and you get around, mate. You've been a very busy man. Like I see your guest appearance on every single podcast, and I'm hearing your voice next to me almost every day when I'm driving. I feel like you're with me in the car. It feels like we're kindred spirits. So it's good to have the company on the road, mate. So not that you're aware, but thanks for the company on the road, mate.
Oh, I appreciate that, man.
All good. All right, as per usual, we have Glenn with us this week as well. Glenn, how was your week this week, mate?
Oh, mate, I'm just going from bad to worse. So I'm now 12K. Like that hasn't happened to me for a while. So, I mean, it was eventually bound to happen. I got 952. Lolo and a few others in there were had a few hiccups. But, mate, I look at my side and I actually like the side I've got. It's, so I'm not unhappy with my side. I just think it was one of them rounds, where everyone pumped to 40. 3 players got over 50, I think. It was Cleary, Cook, and who's the other one? Hines. One of which I captained. So, yeah, but look, it is what it is. I'm a bit frustrated, though. I just want to say something to Tim. We playing a competition, Timmy and I, called the Immortals, and I love that competition. I've won it a few times in the past. And last year, like, Timmy was the captain of his side. I was the captain of mine, and I just couldn't pull him in. He had a season never to forget. He just killed it. And I said to my son, I said, that won't happen again, not this year. And now all of them, the 4 of them are all doing good. It's like...
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it was a bit weird. Like last year when I ended up getting switched to that captaincy, that's when I started doing well last year in that competition. For some reason, I think we had Jake as our captain. He was really struggling or something at the start of the year. So we were allowed to change captain or something once throughout the year. So they decided to put it on to me. And then ever since that, I just killed it from there. So I think that might have had something to do with it. I really relished the leadership and led from the front. Yeah.
No, you killed it, mate. It was great.
Yeah, love the pressure, mate. The pressure.
Yeah, I do like the pressure. But at the moment, I'm not. I feel like I got no idea where I'm going this week, and it just seems so murky and confusing. Last year, I felt like most weeks were pretty clear and easy trades. It was either this or the other. But I just feel like with Turbo going down now, it just opens up for it's great for Supercoach in a lot of ways, but there's so many options, but none of them seem great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of our hot topics we'll talk about this afternoon as well, is what to do with Turbo. Because obviously we have to sell him, but like there's so many options out there and not a lot of them look very good. So I need to start thinking outside the box, I think. So, and last but not least, from SuperCoach 360, we have Timmy O. Timmy O, mate, welcome back.
Hey boys, good to see you. Good to finally meet Timmy online as well. It's been listening for a while. It's much like yourself, Dan. You drive along in the car and it's like he's sitting there beside you. And it doesn't matter which podcast you're on, there's Timmy. So it's like a familiar face, even though I've never seen him. So yeah, no, it's awesome. This week, boys, for me, I had spot on 1,000 neat, which was interesting. I had green arrows the week before, and I think I only won 5 out of 10 head-to-head that week with a good score. This week had 1,000, won 7 out of 10 head-to-heads, and I'm in much the same head-to-heads as you guys all are in the Podmasters leagues and Tragics League, SuperCoach 360 leagues, all the good ones. Yeah, so I had 7 out of 10 wins and still went backwards about 1,000 places. So that was a shame because that was the first red I've had in about 5 or 6 weeks after being all the way back in 65K or something after the first couple of rounds. And yeah, so now I'm up into, that pushed me just back outside 25,000. So pretty frustrating from the history that I've had. It's pretty, like, I know how frustrated Glenn is. I've been playing since 2014. I've always finished in the top 1%. So just going that different way with Turbo has absolutely screwed it. And all I've done is just clawed my way back each week. So yeah, trying to look for pods, looking for different ways of doing things, because chasing the pack, you can't just keep having the same team as everybody else. So, and then this week with the bye coming up in a week's time, there's still a lot of ifs, buts and maybes about who's going to get selected for New South Wales, still even some for Queensland. So yeah, it's a bit tough to try and find that pod. Players like Cotter, that other people are still looking at, we're still skeptical on. Matto, there's a few around that would be great buys, but you pick them up now and then they might not play for the next 2 weeks. So it makes it a little bit tough to catch up, but yeah, we keep swinging.
That's it. What can we do? Like I think I mentioned last week, the Cotter was like a double-edged sword. You want him to play good to score for. I got him when he was at his bottom price before his price rise, and I wanted him to play good, but now he's playing too good and he's playing his way in a bloody orange jersey. So I think I had about 4 weeks ago, I had 10 players ready to play 13, and now I've still got 10, and I'm in trading players in because I'm losing them all. So not much we can do there. All right, let's move on to the news. Glenn, what do you got for us this week, mate?
Okay, mate, I'll run through it quickly. So I've got the player movements for this week. So the only real news is that Lodge has left the Warriors and he's been paid out, as most of the Warriors fans have been posting their anger about. The Storm. So we just learnt that Harry Grant has been ruled out with groin. So I presume that name slips me. Smith will move into the he move into the hooker role, and Wishart's there as well. Hughes returns this week. Nash returns round 14 and Pappenhausen round 15. Manly, Turbo is out for the season. So Garrick moves to fullback. George Tafua has moved to centre, and Burbo still is indefinite on his return. Cowboys, Felt, MCL, Lolo, lower grade MCL, which brings in the Hammer for MCL into the centres, Haas to 13, and James Tanua-Brown moves on to the bench. Broncos, A-Ray another week with a hammy. Titans, Sammy Nee, back round 14, and David Fafita's been named on the extended bench. So if you're one of those that kept David Fafita, just keep your eye on team list. He might get a crack. Warriors, Aiden Fanua-Blake, foot injury, out indefinitely. Egan, back round 13, and Curran round back 13. So those that are looking at players for round 13, Egan, Curran, well, I wouldn't look at Egan, but Curran and Tohu could be interesting buys for round 13. Knights, Bradman Best, 4 to 6 week elbow. Tigers, Little out, Simpkin in. Dane Laurie turns to fullback, and that knocks out Junior Tupou. And with the Bunnies, so Totola and Mill have been named, but they have to pass HIA protocols, so just keep eyes out for that. I doubt anyone owns Totola. There may be some Mill owners out there. Roosters, Satilli's been named on the bench for owners, and Billy Smith's been named on the extended bench, and Terrell May has been named again on the Pine. Sharks, Talakai and Mulatalo have both been named, and Kennedy returns to fullback and Miller is out. The Dogs, Carraz named. Max King's been named at second row. And Tavita Pango Jr.'s been named on the bench. And the Raiders. So Croker's had a shoulder injury. I just watched 360 tonight. It's looking like he has to have an operation and he might be out for the rest of the season. So it's a bit of bad news for Croker. CNK Hammy. So that moves Brandon Savage into the fullback role. And yeah, so he's in
Xavier, mate, not Brandon.
Is that what I said? Sorry, mate.
I didn't notice it either.
Yeah, Savage comes in at fullback.
Get stuck in, Savs.
He wishes.
I'm sure he's got paychecks.
There could be a few changes there because Fogarty's been named instead of Snyder. Schiller's on an extended bench as well, which I doubt it. CHN, I think, will come onto that bench as that team moves around a bit. So just keep your eye on the Raiders. There's a few things going on there. And that's the news. That's the player movements this week. Sorry, it's a bit sketchy. I'm a bit all over.
No, it was good.
It was a fair bit of news there.
Packed into that. It was nice.
No, there's a fair bit of news there. And like you did mention that some people do have Milne, but not only that is if Milne does not pass the HIA protocols, chances are young Tass might get a run as well. So,
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people did hold on, including myself, to young Tass. So there could be some, maybe get the green dot there maybe later on. So just keep an eye out for that.
Him or possibly Sauce, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully not Sauce. I just sold Sauce in my draft, which made me cry because I love me some Sauce. So
he hasn't been good. Sauce has been no good for about 4 or 5 seasons now.
It was great for me in 2020, mate. I buddy got 15th and I started with him and had him all year.
Time to move on the Sauce.
Don't you say a bad word about him. I shaped my hair and my beard to make myself look like Sauce, all right? My wife laughs at me because of it. And, and he's a sexy bloke. Just leave him alone, all right?
He is a sexy one.
Unlike you.
That's it. Well, I know he's a sexy bloke, so I'm trying to shape myself into that mold. I know it's like trying to dress up mutton as lamb, but hey, I'll have a crack anyway. All right, guys, let's jump into some market watch here. So we'll start with the trade-ins. No surprises here. I'll start with you, Timmy. I think Carraz is a no-brainer, mate. You bringing him in?
Yeah, look, I was trying to find a reason not to bring him in just because he plays for the Doggies and he's on the wing and it just comes from nowhere. And I was thinking, like, if 25,000 people are doing it, maybe if you can avoid it. But I don't think this is one you can avoid. He's minus BE of like 83 or something. So he's going to jump up in price real nice. He does look, I had a closer look at him and like he's got individual brilliance about him. So I think there's like it's something he can repeat. He's got those tackle busts. He offloads it. It looks like there's a couple of times where nothing was on and he almost scored. So he just has that like little duck-in run. I think there's a lot to like him. I watched a couple of his junior highlights today as well, and they look pretty impressive as well. So I don't know where this guy's been working around for, missing, and then now he's here, and I think we need to jump on him, especially around 13 coverage.
Yeah, I think these Bulldogs have been struggling for years now. Where have they been hiding? And they should have blooded him ages ago. He's been killing it for him. So
yeah.
All right, next on the list, I'll go to the Broncos man himself, Timmy O. Selwyn Cobbo, number 2, traded in, mate. What are your thoughts on this one? I think there's a bit of a split choice in this one, I reckon.
Yeah, mate, I started with him at the start of the season. I wish I held. After about round 4, I think I flicked him. But, yeah, look, he's been really, really good. I think he's going to walk straight into that Queensland team. I can't see having the high ceiling and the amazing stuff that he can do for a 19-year-old kid, or just turned 19, I think, last week or something, wasn't it? So, yeah, look, I'm glad he's with us. I'm glad it looks like he's signing with us at least for the next 2 years. So, yeah, happy to keep him. Hopefully we can keep him for a lot longer than that.
Yeah, but would you trade him in, though, at this time now, or you think the boat sailed?
If you're bringing him in, I wouldn't bring him in till see if he gets named in 14 after Origin. But he might be one of those guys that you keep an eye on between now and the end of the Origin series. Or if he gets dropped for a game or something like that, if he doesn't make the squad, then maybe bring him in from 14 onwards. But it's certainly not someone that I'd bring in this week because then chances are he's going to sit out for the next 2.
Yeah, there's a few players out there that, with a few spots left open in the Queensland as well as the New South Wales squads that it's just hard to pick those players. You never had to wait. That's why it was pretty handy to use that 4-trade booster in round 13 so you know who's actually playing. So, but one thing we did say last week on Selwyn Cobbo is a lot of his points came from just kicks. So he only got 17 points, and he scored 3 tries to get 100. And last week he changed my mind. He really just ran those lines. He just took it on himself and just attacked like a freak. And so I've definitely changed my mind on him. I think he's definitely a buy, but I'll be holding off definitely on that trade anyway. And it's probably going to bite me. I'm going to have an opponent that's going to have him head to head, and he's going to just rip through me, I reckon. So
I think the other cool thing with him as well is he's because he's young and just the I guess the self-belief of a lot of these young fellas coming through at the moment, and certainly over the last couple of years. Look at all the Panthers young guys that have come through. But I think Cobbo's one of those guys that they've got enough belief in himself. Like, he's put in a couple of kicks when he's had a run down the sideline. I think he got a try assist last week or the week before doing exactly that. And basically worked out that it was 2-on-1. He wasn't going to be able to get run through both of them. So he figured a little infield kick and, one of the second rowers, I think it was from memory, that was running through and dived on. So, look, he backs his own ability, and that's certainly what we want in SuperCoach. He seems to find a way to score points. I just wish he did it from the start of the season, not just now.
True. All right, Glenn, we'll move on to the next one, mate. Ryan Madison, now 711K, number 3 traded in this week, mate. Would you be bringing him in?
I'm not bringing him in, but just because I can't really this week, I'm not trading at all this week. But if I was a Turbo owner, that would be my perfect trade. I think I'd be going Turbo out, moving one of your centre wings down and bringing down someone like an Aiken, a Firma, a Talakai. Probably a Talakai would be the move, and that enables you to buy someone like a Maddo. I made the mistake last week. I went Turbo to IPAP, and but I looked at Maddo hard, but I still feel that Maddo could play Origin. I might be wrong on that, but Maddo's my target round 14.
Yeah. One thing I will say about Maddo is I know that Origin at the moment with the Blue squad, they kind of there's a few open spots there on the bench, and the way he's playing from the bench at the Eels is almost like he's rehearsing for that role, and he's doing a bloody good job of it. We mentioned last week, me and Ross especially, we said that I think I prefer him starting from the bench because you know what his minutes are. He's coming on, attacking those tired forwards in the middle, and just getting what's he getting, like 60 in base attack every game. Yeah. It's ridiculous. We all know he can do it. So
I've had Madison in my draft side for quite since round 2 or something, and he's just been my most consistent player. And anyone that's played SuperCoach for a long time will tell you the value of Maddo and Gus. They've always been consistent. The fear that most of coaches have had around him has been his HIA issues. And but he seems to have changed his tackling style this year. So that makes me a little bit more comfortable to own. So he's definitely a target for me, just not this week.
Yeah, true.
You New South Welshmen, do you think there's room for both Maddo and Gus in the New South Wales team? Or do you think they're both fighting for the one spot?
I do, but I don't believe that's what will happen. I think that Martin, Yo, Murray, there's already blokes that are. I think Freddie will stick staunch with what went last year. If they're picking on form, Maddo should be there, but I don't think that's how it kind of works. So I think you'll sort of see Yo will be. I think Murray will be on one edge with Gus. I think Yo will be the lock, and I think Martin is the other one in contention. I think he gets a bench spot. What do you think, Tim?
It's going to be tough, eh? I can't imagine how they're going to fit them all in, and there's going to be some players that are disappointed they didn't get a call up. So I'm really not sure. That's why I'm being kind of reluctant in trades myself this week and which way I'm going until I sort of see who's preferred as well, because that will shape a lot of things for the round 17 buys as well when we start picking people up for round 14 and stuff like that as well. So, I think Matt he's playing his way into the spot, but then who's gonna lose that spot? I can't see them kicking out any of those guys you mentioned.
Yeah, that's it. All right, next on the list, number 4, Jeremiah Nanai. Tim, what are your thoughts on Nanai being number 4 traded in this week? I don't agree with it.
Myself or Tim?
Yeah. I'll call him bad Tim and you good Tim.
That's why I'm Tim.
Okay. He's a smoky for Origin. I don't think he'll make Origin just because I think he probably has a little bit of defensive issues. That's probably his main thing. There's probably other guys that are a little bit more gritty that they could go with for Origin. And I think if they need the attack, they could got that in the back line. But even for Origin, for SuperCoach, I don't love him just because he does need those tries. But if you like what you see and you're really a big believer in the Cowboys and what they can, if they can keep going on with it, and I mean, look, he under the high ball, he looks ridiculous. I don't know how he times it. Like no other player can time it like I've ever seen this guy time it. And he just spins his body perfectly for it, and it's amazing how he does it. But yeah, it just seems like because he doesn't get the line break from those tries as well, it's just a 17 he's jumping up in. It's a little bit less appealing. I feel like he's got to get 2 of them to really make it worth it. I just feel like there's other options that look nicer than him, even though he's looking great for NRL.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think I don't mind him as potentially like maybe a 5th second row option, someone that you can play on matchups on the way through because I wouldn't play him this week against Penrith. I think that especially with the second rollers that we have and that could defend, and our guys, even though they're short guys at the back there, they can still take that high ball quite easily. So I just don't see him doing too well this week. But I can see why people are getting on him now because his break even's quite low. So yeah, I if you go that way, I reckon he'd be a great little backup for you, but I wouldn't be going there myself. Next up, we'll go with Timmy. Sean Johnson, mate, number 5, traded in. This screams a chase from last week's points, maybe a bit of nostalgia from the good old days.
Yeah, look, you've only got to look at has he played 2 consecutive games yet? Like maybe has he played 3 in a row? If he's played 2, I don't think he's played 3 in a row. So I mean, look, the guy could take the field this week, get an assist, and then not play for the next 3 weeks. So it screams trap. It's I know there's been a lot of talk just in our Podmasters League and things like that today. Guys saying, "Oh, surely I can't do it. Can I do it? Maybe I should. Maybe no, it's not for me." He's again, he was fantastic a few years ago. Now he's just so injury prone that the guy will trip over the sideline on his way onto the field. So look, I couldn't go there myself.
Can I just make a comment on Sean Johnson? I'm sorry to butt in. On the plus side, he has had 2 good games in a row, and he's got a low break even, and he's cheap in price. But what I will say is that they've just lost Lodge, right? I don't see a lot of go forward in that Warriors side, and I think that the loss of Lodge is even
AFB.
Even worse. So I think I agree with you boys on it being a trap. So my warning is don't do it.
The other thing as well is you touched on before, a lot of the guys in the group are going, "Oh, should I go there? Should I not? Should I go there?" It's like this guilt that they have for thinking about it. It's like, I know I shouldn't, but it's so tempting.
If you had a million trades, sure, there's certainly ceiling there. But even at that, like it's not like I don't think he's turned up yet. He hasn't got anywhere near it, I don't think, from memory.
They got 92.
50 and a 90 or something. Was it 50 the week before and 90 something?
Yeah, 54 right. And then 92 or something last week.
Yeah, so it's not like he's banging out big tons or anything like that. So even he's not the kind of player I think that's going to bank you 200K in a short period of time. So even if he has a good week, and then if he has a down week, and like we're saying, Lodge is out, AFB's out, Curran's still not back yet. They're relying on Bunty Afoa and Penne. Like, I mean, geez, it's go forward's going to be a little bit tough, and opponents could end up putting a cricket score on them if they're not careful.
But they've lost even for Nrl Blake as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So they've lost Lodge and AFB. So, I mean, they've got obviously Tohu is back now. So, but I mean, he's been carrying him on his shoulders for the last couple of years, I think, and even at then, it's too much for him to bear because he gets injured as well.
He's had some disappointing scores, like prior to 11 and 10. Like last round, he scored 96, then 57. But prior to that, it's 29, 24, 21, 15, 34. So, like, he's struggling to get over 30 points some games.
Yeah.
So, for that reason, even regardless of his price, I just wouldn't want that as a thing in my side.
No. And he doesn't have the goal
Love
kicking
the old bloke,
he doesn't have the goal kicking to rely on anymore either. Like
exactly,
it used to be great. The Warriors could put some points on, and SJ had kicked half a dozen goals, and that always helps to top him up as well. But he doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah,
That's it. All right, guys. Moving on to number 6, Glenn. I think people jumping on a bit early, and I think definitely a bit premature. But Ezra Mam had a great game. He was a good little bloody player, and I'd love to see him alongside A-Ray, but I think they're leaning towards Gamble there, mate. What are your thoughts, Glenn?
He's a footballer.
He's a footballer.
He passes the eye test as far as
Yeah.
the Supercoach. The issue for him is job security. Gamble and Adam Reynolds are going to hold that position. Adam Reynolds will be out one more round and then he'll come back. And then Mam will drop out of the side. But look, when he gets a consistent role in that side, and we know for a fact that he's there, the way the Broncos are playing, 100% he's a great buy. But I think people are making a mistake there on job security. He'll probably play this round and not next.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we'll go to...
I just say, as a Broncos member, I love him. He's I've been screaming for this for a while. I've seen a lot of stuff with him in the lower grades. He's going to be a perfect player for Supercoach. He thinks run the ball first and kick second. Every time he's got the ball, he just wants to run. He's not thinking about fifth tackle kick options. He's just thinking break the line or set it up for somebody else to break through the line. He's an exciting young kid to watch. Like, he's only 19 as well. I hope to God he gets on the field sometime soon for an extended length, so that he doesn't leave. We don't want to make the same mistake we made with Sam Walker and with Walsh. So he's an amazing young talent. We need to try and keep him.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing him in the future. That's for sure. All right, good, Tim. Next one, number 7 on the list, mate. Nat Butcher. This one here is definitely a good little topic to talk about. What are your thoughts on Nat Butcher? I think any guy that can make 55 tackles in just base alone, that's pretty solid to me.
Yeah, it's a pretty good thing. He looks like he's probably going to be a pretty handy buy number. His price is pretty, doable at 400K. He does have a low break-even of 16. I mean, you could probably not pick him up this week and pay a little bit extra for him in round 13 if you wanted to sort of see what happens with the movement of the side. Obviously, Tilly back on the bench this week and how that it's affected. I wouldn't mind paying like 450 for him or something if I had to the week after. So I probably won't jump this week myself. That is awkward, the draw that the Roosters have. Their draw really sucks for the next probably 6 or so weeks, apart from that from the Raiders game they have next week, I think it is.
Yeah.
Raiders they play next week?
Yeah, so it's this week they're playing, I think it's...
Raiders in 13. That's rough. So they've got Cronulla, Raiders, Storm, Para, Penrith, and that's pretty rough. And then a bye. So there's 4 really sucky weeks for them after the round 13. So that's awkward. But I don't know how much it really affects him. Maybe it means he's making more tackles and maybe something I'd be more concerned about for a more of an attacking style player. But yeah, it looks like he could be a decent option. I wouldn't be screaming to get him, but I'm also not off him. I think he's just not going to make or break either way. But as long as you get decent numbers for the buy, you'll be sweet.
Yeah, well, I'm more of a head-to-head player, and if I saw someone have Butcher in their team, I'm not scared of that at all. So,
I'm not scared of that either myself.
That's it. All right, moving on to the next one. Number 8 traded in, Ruben Garrick. Timmy O, what are your thoughts on bringing in Ruben Garrick this week?
Yeah, look, he's not in my team. I balked at it last week, and obviously last week would have been a great week to pick him up, especially if you managed to sell Turbo last week to Garrick. That would have been perfect. With the high break-evens and everything else to work out. But, yeah, look, he's obviously going to have that run at fullback for an extended period of time unless Desi decides to play cooler back there, which would work fantastic for a lot of us super coaches because I know he's fairly highly owned. But, yeah, look, I like it. He obviously has the goal kicking. My only concern is without Turbo, they weren't scoring a lot of points early on in the season. So that would be my only issue. That unless they sort of start to do something a little bit different, obviously over Origin, there's a risk that they might lose DCE for a bit of time there as well if he gets a rest or anything like that. So, yeah, look, Schuster will probably come in and play in the halves there if Cherry gets a rest. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see over the next 4 to 5 weeks, I think, what Manly actually does. even hearing some interviews with players and coaches and stuff like that online today, that, yeah, they obviously all sort of say the same thing. Look, it's hard to replace Turbo, but we're going to try and find a way. So for me personally, yeah, look, if you've got the cash and you've got the trades, he's what, 600K or 650 or something like that. So it's
650.
So it's a fair bit to push out. Me, it's probably a pass. Like I'm looking at, I've got Teddy, and I'm looking more so at probably going to Manu rather than to Garrick. I just think the ceiling is probably there. It's already proven that it's there. So yeah, not saying that Garrick can't have a good game, but look, I think there's other options that I prefer in that same position.
One thing I will say with Garrick though is when Turbo was out earlier on in the year, he just with the eye test, he seems to be a much more developed fullback now. He's had plenty of practice back there with Turbo always injured, and he really impressed me at fullback this year. And I reckon he probably averages around the 65 to 75 mark at fullback this year without Turbo. Just from what I've seen, I'll happy to eat my words later on, but that's what I reckon happens. I reckon he's a much better fullback than he was last year replacing Turbo. So I really think he's definitely an option this year. I'm not going to go there because I need to pot up like crazy to try and catch up my rank. So I'll let you know who I'm going a bit later on.
I think he's got a much higher ceiling at centre wing than what he does at fullback.
Yeah.
So
that's big time. Yeah.
I can't see him punching out 150. I don't think he's the kind of fullback that's going to get 3 tries. But yeah, look, he's got a much higher ceiling on the wing than what he does at fullback. That's just my opinion, but yeah.
No, it's a very valid opinion because like I still think he does a good job and gets about 70 points, but he's not going to get that 150.
No.
One thing I did notice with his fullback skills, he did have a better passing game on him this year. So his passing game was actually putting some wingers through for tries and stuff, which I thought was pretty good to watch. So he won't be getting 150s, but I reckon he'll be a safe play every single week. So,
yeah.
All right, Glenn, I'm going to skip over the next one. Number 9, Trent Peoples. I'm going to skip over that. If you are doing that, reverse trades now, guys. He's not playing it unless he keeps. You got Murray there on the bench as well. So
I think we should talk about Peoples. I have a few things I wanted to say on it actually. So scrap that. I wanted to talk about the pros of Peoples first, depending on why people are doing it. So if you own someone like a Schiller or someone down in your centre wing that's cheap, it's a good trade to trade Schiller to Peoples and move Talakai down in your centre wing, because that's where Talakai's value is, to play at centre wing, or if you have an Aiken, a Firma. The other thing about Peoples is Post has been ruled out for the season. Murray's just come back from an operation, who will drop out after round 13 and play Origin, which means that Peoples will play round 17 and he'll possibly play games in between, where Murray, I believe, will be either rested or play less minutes. So people could be an interesting number and moneymaker from 13 to 17. So don't rule him out.
I'm ruling him out. I'm ruling him out now, mate.
Okay.
Look, Murray's on the extended bench right now, and he's still not named in the 17. So Arrow does go away. So I reckon you're getting him for one game.
I think he'll play round 17. I think he'll play. You might even find him a late inclusion this round.
If Murray doesn't play, I just can't see him. They've got Sella at 13 there. I just can't see it possibly happening. Why wouldn't they name him there? They haven't been really messing around too much with their forward rotation there. I just don't see why they'd have Murray on the extended bench as well as Peoples on the extended bench. Arrow won't play, obviously, in round 17, so they'll throw him on the field there. They may rest Arrow for 18, so he may get a second game. I just don't think it's worth it, the trade, because you've got to trade him out again if he ends up somehow being on that bench.
Again, it's what I'm saying is it's why you're doing it. So if you're doing it to get rid of a cheap player to bring down someone like a Talakai or a Firma, then it's a good trade. If you're doing it just for a number, then it's not a good trade. That's my point. If you're doing it as a reason to bring someone down, I don't mind it, because it gives you a buy round player, it gives you money, and it also allows you to put players like Aiken or Talakai into the centre wing position, which in my opinion is where you want to own them. You don't want them in key strikes positions of second row, because they're not scoring as second rowers, but they still have their value for me is their base, their floor at centre wing.
Yeah, I just think there's you're probably better off finding enough in the second row that's not going to end up being an 18 nightmare for you. And that's my
revisit
theory,
this conversation.
Oh, good, mate. Well, I'll go to the next one anyway. This one here, this next one's Ruben Cotter, number 10, traded in. I am loving this guy a lot now, but he's not loving me back because I think he's playing too well and he's going to make an Origin spot. Your thoughts, Tim?
Oh, geez, I don't own him, but I feel like I'm pretty keen on him outside of Origin if he doesn't make it. I think I'll avoid him over the Origin period. But he just works and just gets points and just tackles and tackles. And when you're not watching, when you don't own him, watching him just, it feels like he's in everything.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying. So, yeah, those players are always great for SuperCoach. So I really feel like I missed out by not getting him at that nice 480K price. And yeah, congratulations to everyone that did get onto him because he's red hot. And fingers crossed for you, he doesn't play Origin, but I think he does.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. Totally agree. I think I have my hope plan, but that's why I'm gonna change my strategy now, and I'm gonna give up round 13. I've decided because whenever I try, someone gets ruled out. So, all good. All right. Well, let's brush over the trade out. So, number one on the trade out list, we're going to talk about him in a bit more depth later on anyway. But that's Jason Taumalolo, number one traded out. I'll go to you, Timmy O. Would you be trading Lolo out, knowing that potentially he could be back and be a good number for 13?
Yes. Simple as that. I would say yes. It's going to depend really on the makeup of your team, your numbers, and what you're trying to achieve. I think if you're playing head to head, I probably, I don't know, really. Like it depends on how many trades you've got as well. He's a player that's going to come back. You know he's going to be good for a 50 plus each week. However, like he got messed around 2 weeks ago and only played 30 minutes or something or other. So it's I don't even think that's sure. And I think with having players like Cotter playing so well, I think it takes a bit of pressure off Lolo. So they don't have to play him for 65 to 75 minutes a week. So they've got another big body that can do some of the hard work. So yeah, look, I think the Cowboys are trying really hard to be less reliant on him. I think he got the rest with 2 big games coming up. It was just unfortunately that he got injured last week. They've obviously got another big game this week. So, yeah, look, for me, I'd probably sell, but that's just me in my current situation. I think if you've got trades to burn still, then I probably would. If you're running low on trades, then no, I'd hold.
Well, we'll talk a bit more about Lolo in depth after this trade out situation here. And the next one we'll talk about in depth as well. But I think Tommy Turbo is definitely, obviously, everyone knows he's a trade out. He's out for the season. We talk about this guy. Next guy every single week is Chris Randall, definitely a trade out. Isaiah Tass, I can see why people are trading him out because he's been sitting there for a while. I don't see the necessity to trade him out just yet. I've still got him there. If I trade him out, I'm going to have no nuffs to loop if I had the opportunity to as well. Then we've got Kelmar Tuolangi. I think he's definitely a trade out. He's on the bench now. I agree with that 100%. Xavier Coates, again, on this list. I think he's made a bit of money there. There's other options you can jump to there. And probably he may be playing Origin as well, so I'll be trading out. And Blake Taff, Lachlan Ilias, Sia Sofa Talakai, we'll talk about later as well. And Cooler. Cooler's an unusual one, I thought. I think Cooler is playing. I know he's not scoring the biggest points in the world at the moment, but he's still going to be a 30-pointer in next week's round that you don't need to worry about trading out. I'm guessing these are head-to-head players that are doing these trades anyway. So before we next segment is going to be, we're going to talk about a few different players here that are hot topics. So we'll start with one we just brushed on then was Lolo. I saw Glenn over there shaking his head before when Timmy was talking. So let's go, Glenn. What are your thoughts on the Lolo trade out, mate?
No, don't do it. That's stupid, in my opinion. Most people are going to have IPAP, and they're going to have Max King, and they're going to have Haas. So your front row is pretty well covered. So just sit him on your bench. He's not losing you any money. If he plays next week, you've got a buy-round player. If he doesn't, then sell him. But selling him this week is just shooting yourself in the foot, from my perspective.
Having that duel is obviously pretty handy when you've got IPAP up there that you can flick around.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the buy playing front rowers have got duel, so that's going to be pretty handy to move those guys around.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that. Yeah.
Good, Tim. I'm gonna flog that dead horse, mate, for a while now.
That's all right. No. At least I know which one you're talking to. I'm happy with that. For me, Lolo, I've owned him, and it's a frustrating own because I've only really had him since he's been doing poorly.
No.
The last few weeks, the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to hold just this week. Hopefully he gets named. So it would suck having him, be a round 13 number and then having sold him the week before, especially when we're just trying to get those numbers. So I'm sort of with Glenn on that one. Just wait a week and move next week. Look, if you did want to go early and you're just like, I'm just done with him, I kind of don't begrudge you either, because if he doesn't play next week, you've kind of nailed it going a week early.
Yeah.
And not having that money on your bench if you don't have to, especially if there's someone else that you're really keen on. I don't have a IPAP as yet myself, so if someone was maybe doing it to an IPAP, even though it's just a 1 week thing prior to the round 13 bind, I kind of don't mind it because it will give you that coverage for 17 anyway afterwards. But yeah, I wouldn't be selling him yet, but he's pretty gross to watch at the moment. And it's nerves watching. Like, I hate the fact that, like, as Tim pointed out, which is a good point, is they can rest him when, especially when they're doing well. Like, if they're in front, like they were, I think it was 2 weeks ago, they just played him for that 30 minutes because they were killing it and just went, yeah, bugger it, we'll just leave him on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they might do that more and more going forward too, if they've got a lead. So that's a reason why I think he's probably a sell for me. After round 14, probably round 14.
Yeah.
If he does play round 13, and round 13 if he doesn't play round 13.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with the hold. I, on the other hand, have my team's a bit different, and it's not all my money is in my halves, and my centre wing. So I've literally got Lolo and 3 slow burners. So I feel as though I have to. And the other reason that I'm actually looking at selling is because I'm only a head-to-head player, so I'm not worried about round 13. So
it's real team dependent. If you're not playing head to round 13, you don't care. If you don't care about overall, I'd definitely get rid of him. I don't love him in a lineup to play week after week.
Yeah. So I'm actually looking. Obviously, I've got to trade Turbo out this week. I've also got to trade out Lolo to get another playable front rower. Really, I don't want to play Musgrove and Max King as my 2 main front rowers. That would kill me.
Yeah, that's awkward.
Yeah. So I do have Arrow there as well, so I can put Arrow up to the front row for a week before I sell him for a buy player. But yeah, I definitely, if you're an overall player, I think that the main thing is to think about. You have to hold this to see what's going on. You've more than likely got good coverage, like Glenn mentioned with IPAP and even Haas. I think holds definitely is the winner. But like we've already touched on,
he's got a real high BE too. So if you think you might want to sell him eventually. Yeah, it sucks because holding him this week, and if he's not playing this week, so that's fine.
Yeah.
So that's why it's okay to hold, I guess, till round 13. But for that round 13, we really, if he does play, we would need him to score pretty well because we're paying big time for those points, especially for people like myself who want to sell him the week after.
Yeah.
So it is awkward. I don't mind people who are getting rid of it as well. I guess. Yeah, it's probably not that bad of a trade. Long term.
Yeah, definitely long term for me. So we'll move on to the next one. So this one's obviously a trade out. Turbo's obviously a trade out. We know that. But we're going to get into some ideas on who to trade to, because at the moment it's a bit of a wasteland in that fullback. And obviously we have centre wings we can move around and shuffle around, and halfbacks like Hines to shuffle around. I'll start with you, good Tim. Who would be a prime target to target for Turbo? I know this is a tough question because I have no idea.
Oh, it's so hard because I feel like you want to get someone that's almost as good. Like, it feels like you're going backwards otherwise, and there is no one really that's anywhere near as good, and that sucks. Obviously, Pappy, when he comes back eventually, that'll be great to get him back ASAP, but fullback looks a bit awkward at the moment. Teddy's got a tough run coming up, and Origin. So I don't think he looks very attractive. There's guys like, maybe Joey Manu, Garrick, if you don't own them, you could bring those guys in, or moving just your other centre wingers, like a Suwali or for Cobbo, if you own Cobbo or something like that, into fullback, and then targeting maybe even just getting Manu in the centre wing, or maybe if you wanted to get Madison as well, like a gun, you just get him this week, go a week early. I kind of don't mind it, but I'm sort of more inclined to get someone who I think is going to score more over the next 2 weeks rather than just the 1 week. So I think it's hard to go on Matto. I don't mind Drinkwater at the moment as well, because he looks like he's going to get 80 minutes with Hammer playing in the starting side with Kyle Felt going down with injury. He looks more attractive now because of that 80 minutes. But the fact that he doesn't kick goals, it's not that much of a slam dunk for me.
Tough game this week, though.
He scored really good. I'm just not hot on the Cowboys. I've never really been hot on them. I've been hard on them all year. Yeah. But sometimes I think you got to swallow your pride and maybe just go with what the next best thing. And I think maybe Drinkwater could be, but I don't know. There's a lot of different ways we can go, which is kind of exciting because, I mean, you could I've got Hines, I could bring him down and target then like a halfback. Like if Adam Reynolds was available, I reckon he could almost be on my radar, even though he's not like a line-breaking, tackle-busting guy, which you kind of want. The thing is, he's on fire at the moment, and he's just the guy at the Broncos, a bit like how Nico Hines is the guy at just gets the ball and things are happening around him. So he could be a one for down the road. I don't mind him as an option as well, for if you could sort of plug in someone else temporarily for this week and then target maybe him later on. Or I think there's going to be some better options present. I don't feel like I'm certain on it this week. That's why I'm like really just going to probably take it easy myself. I'm thinking if I can just do the one trade in Turbo to that Carraz, that gives me a lot of cash to realise whatever I want to do next week, I can make it happen with 4 trades.
Yeah, I think the boost for the 4 trade round might make it a lot easier for everyone to make their mind up, Liz. So, all right, bad Tim. You don't own Turbo, do you?
No, mate. I started with him. Yeah. I had him until the first price rise, and then I dumped him very, very quickly. And he had 2 good games in there where I kind of went, maybe I should have held for a little bit longer. But then as soon as he started looking a little bit banged up, I was rubbing the hands together, glad I dumped him when I did. But, look, I even made comments in the Podmasters chat last week. There was guys talking about bringing him in for last week. And I just said, look, in my honest opinion, from what I'd seen so far this season, he's not playing as well as he was last year. He doesn't look the same player. He looks like he's a little bit banged up. And I said, until I see something where he's banging out 3 or 4 consecutive big scores, I think he's nearly getting to that point where I don't think I could touch him again unless there's some dramatic marked improvement in his fitness as well as his SuperCoach scoring. I think Manly haven't been going that well. And even when he was back, they still didn't look real pretty. So, look, he's I wouldn't say he's in the never again, but he's not far off. I'd certainly be pretty wary from now on.
I reckon I'll start with him next year for sure at the price he's going to go out at.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Next year he's going to be half of what I paid for him at the start of this year. So that's going to be a little bit different. But
every year's a little bit different too, like last year. I can't believe that the Daily M medalist from last year and the guy that was averaging 140 and that basically was just scoring 200 points for fun was, really struggling this year. It was a bit disappointing. Obviously, injury held him back a bit, but it was a massive drop from what we saw last year. And I don't blame anyone. I have him at the moment. I've got to get rid of him for, thinking he could do it again too.
Well, I think Glenn you traded him out last week, didn't you? I think the trade that you made, I really actually like that trade so far out of all the options I've heard. So tell everyone how you got rid of him.
Well, there's a few options that I liked. One was to IPAP, so bringing players down. So I went to IPAP. The other one would be to Maddo. So you could, you know, bring down a Koala, Sawali or someone like that to you.
Yeah.
If you've got Hines, then you can put one of those cheaper ones there and enables you to bring down and get a second row or centre wing. But one thing I wanted to say was 2 players that we haven't spoken about that I think you could consider. Turbo's not going to lose you any cash. So you have Hines and you have Turbo with fullback. I would even go as far as to not sell in this round. And round 15, Pappenhausen's back. If you can wait for Pappenhausen and jump straight on, you could get a real jump on the pack. Another alternative that you could look at is if you have a Hines up there, as you spoke about before, you may well be able to chase someone like a Dylan Brown, you know what I mean, and really strengthen your halves position. So you've got a Cleary, Hines, Munster, Brown. I really like that combination to finish the season with. And I don't just look at fullbacks. Look at second rowers like IPAP or Matto, look at 5'8", look at halfbacks, even look at centre wings. You know what I mean? So someone that's going to make you money in the duration while you're waiting to get to IPAP could be a good play, like a Drinkwater. You know, make a bit of
I wish I picked IPAP up instead of Turbo. That was a big decision for me that week.
Yeah.
And I went Turbo for the upside and the miraculous stuff that he does, but had it gone the other way, it would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at probably bringing Hines down to fullback, and I'm really looking at, because I'm trying to find a replacement that's going to help me through the bye period, and I'm not really worried about round 13, so I'm looking at 17. I think there's much better options there. So this might cause a bit of like injection, I guess, but I like Jerome Hughes.
Yeah,
so I'm probably gonna go Turbo Hughes. I think with him coming back to the team, I really think that they're going to start firing again, hopefully. I'm not saying hopefully, they will, because Bellamy is their coach. He won't take that again. So I'm liking Jerome Hughes there. So I'll bank a little bit of cash there, and actually helps me free up a bit of cash. Look at bringing IPAP in as well. So, which is another number for around 17, which I'm starting to build my 17 squad quite nicely, get ahead of the game. So,
yeah, I had Hughes written there. We spoke about that before the pod. I actually think Hughes is a very good shout. Yeah. I really do. I'm a little bit nervy on Melbourne at the moment. Without Nass in the side, they don't have the same punch up the middle. Grant not getting, Grant out is a worry, and then Pappenhausen at the back, who's their strike. But Hughes is a fullback in the halves. It can carve up some good scores. So I think it's a good pod play.
Yeah, so I think that's what I'm leaning towards. So hopefully that'll work for me, and I need to do something kind of potty to catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Next on the list, there wasn't going to be 3, but we're going to add 4 now. But the next on the list is Talakai. So a lot of people are trading Talakai this week. I'm going to say some my thoughts on this first. If you got Talakai after that big score with that low break even, and he's just bleeding cash for you for the last couple of weeks, I think Tim's laughing at me. I think he's one of those guys that did that. I think he's a hold, because you got to think of it. I'm not sure if it's because Tim's here with his metaphors. I love Tim's metaphors, so now I'm gonna have a metaphor now as well. You got to think of everything like a transaction. So like, you want to get, when you buy a player into your team, you want to have either buying cash, where they're going to make you the cash, or you're buying points.
Yeah.
And I don't think you've made the cash that you wanted to make with Talakai, so you got to try and make that purchase worth your while and get his points. So that's why I reckon Talakai is a hold. However, if you did bring Talakai in way earlier and you're one of the lucky ones that got those big scores in your system, you've got your cash. So that's my thoughts anyway. I'll start with you, good Tim. What are your thoughts, mate, on Talakai trade?
He's a player that scares me, so I have him. If I didn't have him, I'd be really scared week after week just watching him. And if he can get 40 or 50 on a week that he doesn't score a try, then I'll take that. And I hope the rest of the boys sort of do the job in my side for me. But those weeks that he does, score 2 tries and set 1 up, or set 2 up and score 1 himself, vice versa, I think you just really want to be on him. So I think especially now with the flexibility of having him in centre wing or second row, you can fit him into your side somewhere. I don't think you need to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Be patient, because, guys like that, you can't keep them quiet for too long.
Yeah, very true. So I know that Tim, you're in this situation right now, mate. So what are you thinking, mate?
Yeah, look, I've asked a few other podmasters for advice this week on exactly that. He's got a high BE. He's 123. He's got a tougher game this week, so it was sort of something that I was contemplating. But look, my centre wing at the moment is May, Targo, Tupolotu, Cooler. I've got Suali, Valia, and Tass. So there's a fair bit of trash that I'm going to want to get rid of very, very quickly after next round. So at which point I hold Talakai, get rid of Cooler or someone like that, make $100,000 out of them, and bring Talakai down, and he starts playing in my centre wing along with May and Targo, and I'll pick up somebody else. So look, it's I think that's the smart play to do. I've tried a few pod plays this year and it hasn't worked, and that's why my ranking's down the toilet. So I think it's time I start to play a little bit smarter.
Mate, call me when you're around the 45,000 rank, mate. You want to know what the toilet looks like? That's where I am at, mate. So
that was 5 weeks ago.
All right, Glenn, your thoughts on Talakai, mate?
Well, look at it from another perspective, okay? Yeah, he's just got duels, so it means you can now play him at centre wing, and he's going to be a strike player in your 17. But I'll guarantee you, all the people that do not own Talakai, after round 14 will start bringing him in. They'll probably bring him in at a reduced price, but what are you going to do? You're going to waste 2 trades to trade him out, and then you will need to bring him back in. So is a hold for mine.
Yeah.
Just get him to centre wing where his value is.
Yeah. All right. I think we're all in agreement there. So, all right. The last one that I've added to the list during the pod was now that Grant has ruled out of the game tomorrow night, what are we doing with Grant? I know it seems like an obvious hold because it is Harry Grant, but we had a discussion before. If Grant doesn't play this week, he doesn't play next week. He might get rested for the week after. And then that's round 18. Then you got, it's round 15. Is he a sell? I think it seems like it's not as obvious as we might think. I'll go to you. Good, Tim.
Yeah, it's a real tough one. I think it might especially matter whether or not you've got a second hooker there or not, and who that is. So some people have still got Randall, then you can probably just plug him in and that's fine, unless you're selling Randall to someone else already. I've got Wishart, and I'm just really hoping that he steps in and gets some good minutes at hooker this weekend, but I'm a bit nervous that he might not, because then I won't have a hooker really. So for me, that's why I'm kind of looking at maybe, could he be a sell? It's the first game of the week, so it's a pretty handy thing that we get to see. Hopefully we do get an indication and Bellamy doesn't leave it as complete smoke and mirrors until kickoff, but
he's definitely he's been ruled out.
He's definitely been ruled out, yeah. So for me, it's like I've got to see whether Wishart gets the nod, from the bench, or whether if he starts at 9, that'd be positive. But yeah, a part of me was thinking maybe at 800K you could consider selling him, but I'd want to get him back. That's the thing. I definitely want to get him back.
Yeah.
And it might be hard to do. It might sound easy to do now, but once you sort of start spending that Harry money elsewhere, and by the time you're trying to get him back for 800K, it might be hard to do. But yeah, I'd probably say lean to a hold for most people, for most sides.
Yeah. I'm still torn because I've got Starling, who's okay, but he's very rocks and diamonds, so I'm a bit unsure there. I'm going to have to be thinking about this very hard because I just got Grant in too. I had Starling and Randall for so long, and then I brought Grant in, and he got me a 58, 49, and now he's injured. So that's why I AKA the Grant killer up here. I think for those who don't own Grant, you're welcome. I ruined him for everyone. So, Bad Tim, what are your thoughts, mate, on Grant? This is a tough one.
Yeah, look, it is a tough one. I've got Randall in there with Grant, so for me, it's something that I've got to consider. I think Timmy was sort of touching on it a minute ago. If you've got Randall, then maybe you could do something with Randall and hold Grant. Thinking a little bit left field, you were talking about this before the show. If you went Randall down to Brandon Smith, obviously he will pick up the slack this week and possibly 14 as well. He's going to be a handy plug-and-play player right throughout Origin. He generally gets some decent minutes through Origin, plays pretty well because he's busting his ass to make sure he gets plenty of minutes for the late part of the season. But then something a little bit curly, next week, if you happen to pick up someone like Jazz Tavanga and have Jazz in second row, then you could do the switch between Jazz and Brandon Smith for the bye round so that you still have a hooker for the round 13 bye. And then you put Smith back down in second row. So it's sort of, there's a couple of ways there that you could do things if you play smart. McInnes doesn't play the 13, but yeah, if you sort of think outside the box, there's other ways of covering that. So you could make it work, that's for sure. For me personally, look, it's a bit of a segue, and we could talk about this after, but just to punch out some BEs really quickly, guys. Teddy at 120, Hines at 156, Cleary at 110, Grant at 162, Talakai at 123, Munster at 169. That's some pretty ugly BEs this week, and there's a lot of players there that we'd all want to keep till the end of the season with some nasty BEs. And if you can manage to jag one or two of those that you drop this week that you think are gonna have some low scores or some time out over the next 6 weeks, you could find 500 or 600 points on the rest of the pack pretty easily. Not to mention bank some cash. So look, if Grant being the highest BE out of those guys at 162, sorry, Munster's 169, but Grant at 162, you could play that if you can manage to make it work for the next 6 weeks. And I think, yeah, look, there's certainly ways of doing it.
Yeah, for those that are a bit more trade rich, I guess, have more trade at their belt, it's good to do a little trade in, trade out. But if you're a bit behind, maybe you've got less than 20 trades, it might be a bit challenging. So, your thoughts on Grant? I know you got pretty handy set up there, Glenn. With your
I've got
team,
Cook and Grant, so it's a little handier for me. Look, I'm not trading either of them at this point, but I mean, we'll see how things pan out as things go forward. What I don't mind is if someone owns Cotter and they don't own Maddo or IPAP, you may be able to sell Grant, move Cotter up, and then buy another buy-round player. A second ago, it's trade dependent. So depending on what sort of trade setup you have. But I have Cook, I have Grant. I don't plan on letting go either of those, Cleary, Munster or Hines. I think that I'll be holding all of those right through the duration because they're all players. You want to get IPAP back, Pappenhausen back as well. And some of those trades are going to cost you 2 to get anyway. And you don't want to find yourself in a position where you can't get them back. And I've had that happen to me before.
See, Cotter would be a perfect example of what I was just talking about. If you put Randall down to Brandon Smith for this week and then wait till next week to see if Cotter's named for Origin. If Cotter's not named for Origin, then here's absolutely somebody who I would pick up in my second row and then switch him with Brandon Smith next week for round 13. And you could hold those two guys and switch them back and forwards between the round 13 buy and the round 17 buy. And I think that would be strategically a very, very clever play.
Yeah. I also don't see, I know you got the two best hookers, obviously, are Grant and Cook, but I don't think Cook's like shaking the house down, you know what I mean, too much. So I don't see an issue with having those two guys for the rest of the season. We have a Grant and a Cotter on the bench. And having the Tabunga and someone you can move around. Even McInnes starting to show some form there as well. So having that option there, I think Cook and Grant is the best combo. But I think for versatility, there's definitely merit in doing that. So. All right, guys. That pretty much wraps up everything tonight. Let's move on to some trade talk. So, good team. What kind of trades we looking at doing this week, mate, if any?
So one I'm pretty sure I'm definitely going to bring in is Karaz this week. He's the only one I'm certain of. I feel like a lot of the other guys I kind of want to wait because I do need to see whether they're going to get an Origin spot or not. I'm keen on a few guys as well, but I kind of don't mind the idea of Joey Manu, of Drinkwater, but I feel like that could be next week plays and get another look and have another week to decide and really lock that one in. So I feel like I sort of want to be a little bit tentative this week. I'll be getting rid of Turbo. I'll probably just play Max King in place of Tolmalolo this week. And, hopefully Talakai plays because I don't really have much cover for him either. So if I am forced into a trade, it'll be sort of a bit dependent on whether someone doesn't get named or something like that as well. But yeah, leaning towards just one if I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool. Tim, what are your thoughts, mate? What trades are you looking at doing this week, mate?
Yeah, look, I'll probably bring in Carraz, and strangely enough, it'll be via Andrew Fafita in front row. I've got enough duels I can move players around. Fafita, I was actually really disappointed with. I really thought he'd be someone that had come in, play 35, 40 minutes and bang out a 50. But I think that's about what his top score has been so far this season. So it's been really disappointing. He's not getting as big a minutes, but like even when players have gone down, like they've had Talakai went down, they had Finucane went down, and he still didn't seem to really do anything. I thought he would have relished at it to try and push for more minutes, but anyway, is how it is. So yeah, look, that's definitely one trade. And then, yeah, I guess going back to the BE chat that I had a minute ago, boys, my question to you guys would all be, with the high BEs, is any of Teddy, Hines, Cleary, Grant, Talakai or Munster a trade? Obviously, 5 of those 6 are going to play Origin. Well, we're assuming Hines will. With some of those BE, I mean, look at Munster. That's 169. He's had 2 pretty low scores in a row. Admittedly, Hughes hasn't been there. Hughes is supposed to be back this week. But instead, they're going to take Grant out of that team and Pappy's already gone. So is it more of the same? And at which point do you sell Munster now, maybe pick him up in another month's time for a couple of 100K less than what he is at the moment, spend that couple of 100K over the next couple of weeks and do something else with it?
One of those that I have considered was Munster to Brown. Like the Brown trade. I think he's playing some good football. He plays round 17, and they actually have a really nice draw running home. I'm a bit worried about how the Storm are going at the moment, so I'll take another look at them this week. But it's one I've considered. Round 14 was going Munster to Brown. I think Tedesco could be a good trade to IPAP round 14, depending on who's picked for Origin. You know, he'll play round 17 as well, and Hines. So they're the only 2 I consider myself.
I'm thinking there's no need to rush my thought anyway, but potentially actually doing the Harry Grant trade out next week and spreading that money to bolster up the rest of my team.
Yeah.
That's just because it's going to be a lot of weeks there where we might not have him. So it hurts a lot because I just brought him in, but I need to do something crazy to catch up. So, but I can't imagine selling Munster. I can't imagine selling any of these guys. So I spent quite a lot of time trying to get these guys in my team, and now I'm just trading them out. And I can't go back past that original rule where the rule number 1, never trade a gun. So it's a very hard one for me to contemplate, I guess. So, so Glenn, you making any trades this week, mate?
I'm not, mate. No. I'm pretty rich in the centre wing position with Targo, Suwali, May, Koala, Firma, Aiken. So I don't really think that bringing in another one like Carraz, I think it's just a waste of a trade. I agree he's a great player and he will make money, so I don't hate that trade. But I'm just erring on the side of saving trades more myself.
I like it. You don't have to pick up every cheapie as well.
That's right, yeah.
That's it. Like I thought the cheap. I know Peoples was talked about last week about potentially being a trade this week, and obviously he didn't get named. But like I always thought that was just terrible timing. I'm gonna Turbo injured, Lolo's injured, Grant injured, and now I got to try and pick up these cheapies. It just doesn't seem right. So in saying that, I am picking up Carraz myself. So I've gone Tuolangi to Carraz. So I'm finally getting rid of Tuolangi out of my team, and I'm going Turbo to Jerome Hughes. And potentially boosting up and going Lolo to IPAP. But I'm actually thinking about waiting a week on that one purely because IPAP being named at 13. I just want to see how that plays out. I know he's a gun player, but I think he might lose a bit of his ceiling in the middle there.
Looking at some of the trades that have just happened over the last couple of rounds, so let's just point some of them out to people. People have bought in Burbo. They've bought in Tass. They're bought in people because everybody has this, the next best thing is a cheapie, jump on. And so I just want to warn people that sometimes trades are worth you've got to say to yourself, what money and what value am I going to play Carraz in my 17 every round? If you trade, save the few.
Yeah, probably not.
If you're doing well trade-wise and you miss some of those, like I didn't jump on Burbo, I just thought, I just didn't like that trade. But or Peoples I haven't got as well. I did get Tass. So I mean, I just caution people, you don't like Tim said a second ago, you don't need to jump on everyone. It's got to be team specific to your team.
Yep.
What I will say though is I've got all three of those guys. Yes, it's tough to swallow now, but Burbo looked like he was someone who was going to stay in that team. Peoples was always one that was a bit dicey. Tass, we all knew again might have been a bit dicey, but we assumed he'd pick up some minutes somewhere. In all three situations, I brought in those three players when I used a boost, so that it gave me the opportunity to do like 2 upgrades and a downgrade. So just by trading someone that was 350 down to a 175 gave me the cash to bring in 2 big guns. It's kind of bit me in the ass in a way now that I've got 3 blokes sitting there who aren't playing footy. But at the same time, it's certainly helped me strengthen my team. So, again, it does come down to each situation. If Burbo didn't get an injury, it would have been really handy, and still might be as a bit of a nuff. Handy being the centre wing second row forward duel. So if you've got guys like Firma and Aiken and now Talakai, he's going to be a handy bloke that you can flick those boys back and forwards, especially now in the bye period. That's a really handy strategic play. And then when you're looking at buying and selling other players, the ability to flick those guys back and forwards is a big plus as well. So it can bite you in the ass that now I've got those 3 blokes sitting there, but at the same time, I've now got a bit of flexibility as well to move guys around to cover holes. Hopefully those boys come in at some stage.
Yes, I've got a few of those as well. I'm hoping Carraz isn't going to fall into that same pool, but you never know, especially when I know he hasn't been playing too great, but Ockenball is just there in the weight, ready to go if he does fail. So
I like Carraz. I just don't like the side he plays for. How many opportunities are you going to see Carraz in a scoring opportunity? Do you know what I mean? I think that he'll score you some good scores in some games, but how often are you going to play him? From round 14, we're going to be looking at players for round 17. And I just don't think that he adds anything to your side. But you just got to look at the value of trades versus the value of cash you're making. And I just don't think it passes the test for my side.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to talk people out of it. It's just our idea is to give both perspectives, I guess. And that's
definitely.
Balance.
Definitely a fair call. All right, guys, move on to VC and captain choices. Any insights into what you're doing? Good, Tim?
Tough one. I hate it because the good options look like they're in the first 2 games, and I don't really like going an early captain. So I think I'll VC something in the first couple of games. I'm thinking probably won't be able to resist the urge to go on a Melbourne player. So it might be Cam Munster. Oh, yeah, and I think I was tempted by Harry, but now that Harry's out, maybe that might affect how I think Melbourne will play again because since they're missing that one extra. Maybe I might just VC Cleary and then look for a later captain like maybe there's not really many options. It's tough, hey? Like, I don't have a great deal of confidence in any of the other guys as captains. I've got Teddy. Maybe I could captain him. I wouldn't be able to captain Hines because I'd have them both at halfback, Hines and Cleary. I would have said maybe Cody Walker had they not looked so bad last week against the Tigers this week, but I don't think I could take that gamble. They just look too bad to hope for him to get like a ton out of him. He looked shocking last week. Yeah, look, I'm thinking hoping it'll just be a straight C Cleary. Maybe just safe, knock it out. Might not, set the world on fire against the Cowboys who are going to really try and impress. But he's probably good for at least an 80.
Yeah.
So I think you can take that in this day and age.
Yeah, definitely. I felt bad saying bad Tim, so I'm going to say Tim 2. Tim 2.
This is why I changed it to Timmy O, because with this Timmy and Timmy Williams, like it was just too bloody confusing. So I just said, right, I'll just be Timmy O, and I left it at that. So, yeah, no, awesome. Look, my plan was VC, Cleary, Captain Hines. I do like the Cody Walker one, especially because I've got to chase points. Yeah, I mean, I like it because I have to chase points, and outside of that, I don't really like it. But I think of all the other options that I've got, maybe for a solid point score, IPAP. But now the fact that he's gone from second row into lock, I'm sort of not really sold on that. Look, there's really some ugly options this week. It's the last 2 or 3 weeks has had a lot where the players that we like to captain have really had tougher matchups. So it is a little bit tough. If you do happen to nail one this week, 10 points to you, because it's if you can manage a 120 to 150 captain score this week, you're going to be pretty stoked. I do like the idea of going someone from Melbourne. If Harry was there, I probably would have gone with Munster with how poor Manly have been. But I just wonder that, I mean, Hughes comes back, but Harry's out. So does that make a difference too? Although, I mean, they've got a pretty handy replacement with Brandon Smith, and he likes to go forward as well and run from dummy half. So if I had Brandon Smith, he'd probably be a cheeky VC, actually. If I had Brandon Smith, I'd go VC Brandon Smith to score a try under the post from dummy half. And, Captain Cleary.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Glenn, mate, what are your thoughts?
VC Cleary, Captain Cook, mate.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm doing
Captain
this week.
Cook.
Yeah, I think Cook's a pod play versus the Tigers.
Yeah.
That will be dependent on how I see other VCs unfold. If I feel I need to chase higher, I might look at Hines. But I really like Cook this week.
Mm. Yeah, well, I was initially going to go VC Munster into Cleary, but yeah, I think a bit nervous about how they're going to play. So I'm going to VC Cleary. I can potentially captain Hines because I'll move into fullback. But if I do make my third trade and bring IPAP in, I actually, looking at the Raiders in the past, they've let a lot of points go through the middle. A lot of, I know it's probably more fullbacks that tend to get through and hookers get through, but I reckon there might be some good points there in the middle if there's some good ball for Parramatta in the top of the 20. So I can see a sneaky IPAP try in the middle there. So I reckon he might be, I know we've been saying it's a bit nerve-wracking having him on in the middle rather than the edge, but I think there could be something just with the Raiders, the opposition there. So something to think about, I think. I'm not sure whether it's worth a boost or not, though. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps everything up. Has anyone else got anything they want to say before we head off?
No, we're going to do our bold predictions.
Oh, yeah, of course. Don't forget the bold predictions. I'm trying to think. I think my prediction was off last week.
So I'll tell you mine quickly. So I'm going Cookie 120, and I think that Cleary can do it as well, 120. So I'm going Cookie, Cleary both to get 120.
I'm going to do a bit of a recap before we go anyway. So last week you said Cleary 140.
Yeah, I was a little bit off by about 40, by about 60.
Yeah, well, you think you were off, mate. The SC Whisperer had Talakai 85 plus, and then he also, on top of that, just to sweeten a little bit, said Melbourne to put 40 on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
That didn't turn out too well either.
Ouch.
Yeah, so Ross had Dogs, Tigers to have no one score over 50 points. And Munster plus 100, so another big ouch. I wasn't about as far off as you there, Glenn, where I had Stags at 130 plus, and you got a nice 82 for me, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
All right. Good, Tim. What are your predictions, mate?
Speaking of the man you just mentioned, I'm going to go with Stags. I reckon he'll match up well against. I'm not too sure whether they're going to put Masters or Kelly against him.
Yeah.
But it seems like he would normally match up against Kelly, but I think SM Masters played on the left side last week, so I'm not too sure what's going to go on there. But I still like Stags, so let's go 90 plus for him, and maybe a 90 plus for Teddy as well.
Okay, I like that.
Maybe I might end up finding a captain out of him. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not too confident with any of them this week. And look, Penrith to beat North Queensland in a tight game. I think it'll be tight.
Yeah.
A few people I've heard said Penrith might smash them, but I think there might be tight, like less than 6 points in it.
Yeah, I reckon it's gonna be a good game.
I think it'll be close for 50 minutes, and then I think that the Panthers will strangle them, and then they'll run away with it in the end. But when I say run away with it, I think about 18 to 12 maybe. So not really run away with it, even 24-12, something like that.
Yeah. Team mate, bold predictions. Timmy O.
Mate, I'm going Brandon Smith 80 plus. I'm going to say he's going to score a cheeky try from dummy half. And it might sound a little bit silly, but Broncos to beat the Titans. Now, that might sound easy because Broncos are favourites. We actually have a really atrocious record against the Titans at Suncorp Stadium. I don't think we've beaten them for it's years. So yeah, it's we always seem to be favourites. We always seem to be better placed at the time when we play them. But yeah, we have not beaten the Titans at Suncorp Stadium for years. So mine is to put a decent score on the Titans at Suncorp.
It says here you beat them in round 8.
Yeah, that's right.
Last year. But that apart from that, it might have been an anomaly.
Because they bring their home game, often bring their home games to Suncorp as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's not a regular thing. So yeah.
They're actually really good games, the Broncos Titans games. It's that big brother, little brother thing.
It's the same as the Broncos Cowboys games. It doesn't matter where they are on the table. It's a cracking game of football.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Well, I'm not going to go as soft as Timmy with his bold prediction. But what I will say, I'm actually going to go real bold. I'm not going to go 100 plus. I'm going to say the exact score that IPAP's going to get. He's going to score a try and get 116 points. So if I'm wrong, then nothing ever happens. I feel like I have to eat a chili or anything, so it doesn't really bother me too much. But if I'm right, I am a god. All right.
You don't get a succulent Chinese meal.
If you're right, everyone else has to have a chili.
Chinese meal.
Yeah. For those that don't know, I think Tim owes Glenn a succulent Chinese dinner.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know how we got through the whole show without bringing that up.
It was
right. Or was it for Harry Grant to be over or under 50 points? You get to 49 in updates. That was pretty painful.
So at the start of the game last week, when I saw the way things lined up with Harry Grant in the 7, I said, look, I actually said I don't think he scores over 30. And then Tim said he thinks he gets around 80. And I said, well, we'll meet in the middle and just have a bit of fun with it. So we just had for a case of beer, but because I'm a non-drinker, we made it succulent. It had to be succulent.
I'm not going for any just average Chinese, but succulent.
Yeah, so Timmy and I'll catch up at some point in the future. And look, thank you, Tim, for coming on tonight. I know you haven't been fit, mate, so we really appreciate that you've made the effort to come and help us out tonight.
No dramas. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah,
definitely. I'm just before we go, just quickly, you do a lot of extra work at the moment. So you're doing with the Winning Mood at the moment as well. A couple other different podcasts you're doing there. So I'm going to give us a bit of a plug for yourself there. Let everyone know what to listen to.
Yeah. So you can find me on Twitter or Facebook at the SC Lurker. That's LUKER. Oh, no, LURKER. Yeah, I'm not very LURKER. Yeah, and I can't even pronounce it properly. It sounds like a lot of people think I'm saying the shady, the worker. That it's lurker with an L. I just can't pronounce it great. But yeah, find me there. But I'm on the SuperCoach Experience podcast, the Champions podcast, and that Winning Mood podcast as well. So you can find me there each week.
Are you on the Countdown show tomorrow night too, Timmy?
No, I'm still going to be in isolation, so won't be on that, unfortunately, tomorrow. I'm sure whoever steps up in my place will do a fantastic job. Hopefully it's Copes. We haven't seen him on in a while.
Can I just say, mate, that it is actually really nice that those guys have been sharing it around this year, having a few different guests and stuff on. And it's been really good for a lot of the guys in our forum that have had appearances as well. So it's been really nice. I know some of the other SuperCoach Experience boys have been on. So, yeah, no, it is really good that it's not just the same guys. They're getting some of the boys that really live and breathe SuperCoach on there.
Yeah, definitely tell you branching out a bit and giving a few people a call up. It's nice.
Yeah.
I really love the community aspect that SuperCoach has built over the last couple of years. and to see you and Sav and the other boys on there, you know, like I've known Sav for a while. We used to be on admin in another page many eons ago. And it's good to see the evolution of SuperCoach Experience. I think you have done a fantastic job with that podcast. So well done on that.
I appreciate that.
We'll put up on our page the SuperCoach Experience, the Shady Lurker links, and any other links to Tim so you can find him. But he's pretty easy. He's last year's winner. He's number one, and he's not far off number one back to back this year. So thank you again, mate. We really love having you on.
Cheers, boys. Thanks for getting around me. Appreciate it.
All good,
Awesome,
guys.
mate.
Cheers. All right, guys. See you next week. Thanks, Timmy. Love your work, boys.
I want to win. I want that trophy. Throw it up! Throw it up! Throw it up! I want that trophy. Throw it up! Throw it up! Throw it up! I want that trophy.